similar arc. And so, just, sort of
Yeah.
question. Then you can tie in bigger things like, are the gods pulling the strings? And,
Whoa.
it's just, okay, you moved this piece, I'll move this piece, right?
Yeah.
I move this pawn, I move this pawn to counter.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, whether it's chance or the gods or someone paid, Pod to look after, or Pod's trying to make his own name here, but he has a huge moment. And I think
Right.
Tyrion thinks of this like, I would be dead if not for him. And when Pod finally does come in this chapter, he starts to kind of like stutter and say, I'm sorry that I and they cut him off, right? But he's meaning to say killed. I didn't mean to kill him. I think he thinks he's going to be in trouble, right? Because he killed one of the Kingsguard. First of all, let's go. It's a big deal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a huge deal. And doesn't want him to say anything.
Yeah. And it's a chaos of battle. And we talked about some of the theories, I think it was a couple weeks ago, on who paid him, why, what's his motive, why kill Tyrion, who's behind all of that. And again, if you guys have thoughts and theories on that, leave us a comment. Or send us a raven at btkcast@gmail.com. But I think I just think it's interesting. Tyrion knows how dangerous this is. And if he lets on, because right now, anyone who was in the keep, and you think about the battle, they don't know the ins and outs. They don't know whether he was killed by a random arrow or a spear or whatever. Someone who's waiting for that report might ask what happened to Ser Mandon Moore. And hopefully no one saw Pod just, shove a spear through the back of his neck or something, right? But
yeah, really interesting here, because I'm just looking on the Reddit here about this chapter, and somebody brought up a really interesting question. Now, again, this is from like 6 years ago, but it's a really cool source to sort of look at A Song of Ice and Fire reread subreddit, because they've read this multiple times. Some are before the show, influences people's thoughts and stuff like that. But they're talking about speculations on who hired Mandon Moore, which we've sort of thought Cersei, but it goes on to think that it says, here's one. It says, my gut feeling was always that it was Lysa, since she's from the Vale. We know there's no love lost between her and Tyrion. I used to say that he can't be Littlefingers because that would make the Kettle Blacks redundant, since they ultimately will end up being sort of Littlefinger's men. But I've reconsidered on this reread because of the timing that the Kettle Blacks come to King's Landing right before the battle. Think about this from Peter Baelish's perspective. He commands Ser Mandon Moore to assassinate Tyrion. It seems like a pretty easy task for the night, but there's a possibility that either Tyrion would thwart him, or that someone would see Ser Mandon would be executed for killing the king's hand. So if Ser Mandon is Littlefinger's creature, it makes little sense that Littlefinger would bring in the Kettle Blacks at that time to ensure that he always has a man on the Kingsguard.
Yeah, the timing's interesting. That's a cool connection. I mean, the gold cloaks, right? When he is the master of coin, he's got a lot of people. I mean, that's the influence, that's the power of money, right? He's the one paying folks. So now Ser Mandon Moore, I think he and Lysa, right? Littlefinger and Lysa, you could go either one. It's the influences from the Vale, for sure. And then there's some major beef there with Tyrion. And we've seen Lysa write letters to the likes of Catelyn. So could she write something to Ser Mandon Moore and say if there's ever a chance, etc., kill him? I mean, is that just for honor? Does he get paid for that? He's a part of the Kingsguard. Like that. I think that's why some people will throw out the idea that it could be one of the royals, that it could be someone like Joffrey, or it could be someone like Cersei, because they're the only ones who can really order that group around.
I would say, though, that let me think here. I would say, though, that if you're Littlefinger, you would stand to gain quite a bit from Tyrion's death, though, because I think a lot of people would view Littlefinger as a potential suitor. I mean, I know Tywin's going to take it, but Tywin is still at battle with Robb. Mm-hmm. So, and Balon Greyjoy is still out there too. So you'd have to put and Stannis. So there's a lot. And he's gonna have to go sort of command that. And Jaime's been captured. So if you're Lysa saying, I want Tyrion dead to Littlefinger, your sort of love interest, then you could be Littlefinger and be like, all right, I'm going to pay Ser Mandon Moore to attack. Hey, if you can take out Tyrion during this, that would be awesome, because then the hand of the king is now gone, and you're master of coin. And a lot of people, I think, Littlefinger's gaining power. We know chaos is a ladder, and so you're Tywin Lannister away. Let's just say, in theory, let's say that currently Jaime's gone. Tywin still has to go win a war against Stannis, who he just pushed back. But in all this stuff, I mean, who are the candidates in the event that Tywin has to go deal with stuff? Who are the potential literal candidates in the event of a Tyrion death away from being Hand of the King? At this moment, you've just made an alliance with the Tyrells, so you either go Mace Tyrell or your next sort of person. I think Littlefinger could go to Hand of the King.
Yeah, he could, because what's his name? Giles Rosby is, I think, later put on the small council and things. So you have other
Kevin Lannister, right?
Yeah, Kevin for sure. But again, if they're tied up in war and battle, if you need commanders, they might be out doing that type of thing. So who is it that's going to kind of govern and what have you? I mean, if Cersei though, if it's up to her, she might want a puppet or someone who if it comes down to her decision, well, then she just needs somebody. She's the regent, and she's going to either work with the hand or she just wants to govern herself. But you're right. So now actually the list grows when you think of who Cersei could put in there, because it could be anybody.
But I think Cersei thinks that Littlefinger is a puppet, because remember the Littlefinger episode we did where we talked about, you look at them, and this is later. This is like Storm of Swords, stuff like that, and they think, well, they all discredit Littlefinger every time. We discredit Littlefinger, and he's really running the whole show.
Yeah, the only other person I thought about, and I don't think this is very likely. I like the idea of Littlefinger and Lysa and a bit more, but like, I think Tyrion, once he has his downfall here, and Tywin takes power, and the Lannisters start doing the things that they're doing, I think Varys starts to see, he starts to see where he kills Kevin, right? I don't think he likes people like Tyrion and Kevin, who would bring stability and who would reduce that chaos and maybe unite the kingdom together. So it's interesting that Varys is sitting there, right? And he's seeing how this all kind of plays out. I'm not saying Varys, ordered the killing of him, but like, he serves the realm. He wants, and ultimately to serve the realm, that means we're going to bring in a Blackfire pretender, or we're going to bring in the true Aegon Targaryen, bring him back. Whatever it is that Varys is scheming with Illyrio is a whole other thing. But it's possible that he had something to do with that, because I go back to the motivations for Ser Mandon Moore. Why? What does he get? Does he get a sack of gold? And is that how does he, as a Kingsguard, does he just use that to buy drinks and whatever? What is it that motivates him to say, I'm going to do that? Yes, Littlefinger asked me to do, or Lysa, or whoever it is, Varys. Like, what would he gain from that?
Well, Ser Mandon Moore. Well, think about this: if Littlefinger hires Ser Mandon Moore, remember where we're at is that Tywin would have to go beat Robb Stark and potentially Balon Greyjoy and Stannis, right? So he still has to go fight all of these battles. Nothing is remotely close to being over at this point. And then we have a situation where Tyrion's now gone. Again, Jaime is still captured. So if Jaime is potentially killed, murdered, executed, or because a trade doesn't happen, then Ser Mandon Moore could now be Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
Yep, that's good. I figure that's where you're driving to. That I like that. That is something that could maybe motivate him. I know he's said to be a dangerous man, and it seems like he has no emotion or whatever, but if he just wants to be the most dangerous, most lethal person, and given the title of Lord Commander, I mean, he got into the Kingsguard. Wasn't he appointed, or didn't someone had something? It was Robert Baratheon. It was after the Robert's Rebellion. John Aaron. I think John Aaron maybe had something to do with him coming from the Vale and being, promoted to Kingsguard. So Is there more on him possibly?
Yeah, he came from the Vale. He's familiar with Ser Egan, who, remember, Bronn kills, right?
Kills,
He's
yeah.
the one who fights for the Vale. He was brought to King's Landing by Jon Arryn. Yep.
Okay.
And it says that Jon Arryn and King Robert neither were sort of particularly fond of Mandon Moore.
Okay. Yeah. So
in a Game of Thrones, after the arrest of Lord Eddard Stark, Ser Mandon guards the door of the council chamber when his daughter Sansa Stark is brought before the small council by Sir Boros Blunt. Wow, Sir Boros Blunt is a character.
wow.
Mandon later escorts Sansa back to the high tower of Maegor's Holdfast. Mandon is present in the throne room when Sir Barristan Selmy and Lord Commander of the Kingsguard is dismissed. Mandon is the other member, and so we don't really see a lot of him, and then it just sort of happens. Then later there's a lot of speculation on it, right? That's in A Storm of Swords. It's just mostly sort of speculation.
Thinking back on it, like yeah, it's thinking who did that, who put him up to that, etc. So yeah, does So maybe there's more. There's multiple motivations. I like the Lord Commander one. I like that it was because of what happened with Bronn, and so you take that out on Tyrion. I also like that maybe he's a man who can be bought, possibly. Right? Who knows? Maybe there is that. Also, you brought that Ser Barristan moment. God, could you imagine if Ser Barristan would have just laid him low? He
would
could.
have wrecked him.
Good.
Yeah.
God.
The only person on the Kingsguard who I think would actually pose a challenge to it would be Jaime. I think.
Yeah.
At the moment that he left, I think okay. I think Jaime could probably take Barristan Selmy at that, because it's an older Barristan Selmy, but prime Barristan Selmy I think would take Jaime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Barristan's. Yeah. He's unreal. Yeah. Okay. We'll have to do sometime. Like, it would be kind of fun to break down this Kingsguard versus that king, because you could actually take Barristan out and you take Jaime out, and now it's like, okay, what about
Kettle Black versus
or one of the Kettle Black, versus more who's more lethal. We don't really have a lot of tourneys and stuff to go off of, but it'd be it would be awesome. So
yeah. So anyway, okay. So interesting. So yeah, then the rest of the chapter here.